I was fortunate enough to find in the back a smaller piece of particle board, so it wasn't quite as heavy. But if you don't find any in the back that are smaller than a full sheet, be careful. They are very heavy. Get some help to drag it out. But we brought it to the panel saw. Now I'm not going to go through every single cut, but I did want to give you a few tips to get started. Now, like I mentioned before, I would recommend writing everything down on a pad of paper. As you can see, I've got my solid wood, my particle board, and everything's listed in plywood so that I can follow something and check it off the list when I'm done. So what we want to do is figure out what's the best way to cut this. Now, particle board, my sheets come 48 inches wide and 8 feet long. Now, that means 48 inches. The company always adds an inch. So I actually have 49 inches when we start cutting. So we need to figure out what's the best way to cut this. Well, if you look on the chart, every piece of particle board here is 3 5/8 of an inch wide. Okay, so that means if I just cut a whole bunch of 3 5/8 inch strips, I need to figure out how much length do I need. So here's how the math goes. I have two pieces 47 inches long, and my sheet is 48, or actually 49, so that's perfect. I can cut two of those, and that's fine. I'll cut my length after that. Now the next one over, I have 6 pieces that are 23 5/8. Now if I round that up to 24, I will be able to get 2 of those per strip, and that works out really well too, which means I only need 3 strips because I can get 2 per strip. All right, so we have 2 there and 2 there. Or 3 there, excuse me. So as we continue on, we have 10-inch long strips. So with all these 10s, I have 6 there and 3 there, that's 9. With 10-inch long, I can get 4 10-inch pieces per 48-inch long strip. So 6 plus 3 is 9. I'm going to need 3 strips of that as well. So I need 3 here, and 2 there. So that's 8 pieces. So all I got to do now is go over to the upcut saw, set it to 3 5/8, and make 8 cuts at 48 inches long and 3 5/8 wide. Then I'll just simply go to the upcut saw or a chop saw and start cutting them to size. So let me set this down, slide it over, got it at 3 5/8, and go ahead and cut.
Feel free to use either the upcut saw, like I am, or the chop saw. Cut.
A lot of you guys are going to run into the same problem when you're doing large web frames, and that is, where in the world do I put the middle one? I want it in the center, but how do I know it's going to be in the center? Well, here's how you do it. You set it up so that you can see where the pieces go. This is what it will look like when I'm done. And simply find the halfway point of the long board. Now, these long ones are 47 1/4. So they're going to be 47 when they're all done. Half of 47 1/4, and I can just match that over here in a second. Then find the distance halfway from your center board. This is 3 5/8, and again, do the same thing. Half of 3 5/8, I go 1 1/2 plus 5/16, and I can draw my line right there. Match them up. Okay, there we go. So the lines are together. I can see them both lined up. Draw a line on each corner. One right here, one right there. There, that one's all done. Now, instead of remeasuring everything, I can simply bring this one down, match up the end, and extend those exact same lines, and that's where it's going to go in the center. And we'll refer to that on the next step to do the dowels. When you're ready for dowels, come to the machine, and remember, you need to put an X on all of your pieces. Which way is up? So they're all facing the same way when you glue them together. Just put an X. Great. On the short ones, these little 10s, they're the ones that get them in the ends. All of the longer ones get them in the sides. So that's something you're just going to have to remember. So come to the machine, and you're going to do one end, flip it around, do the other. Then I have my really long ones sitting on the side so I can show you that. Now, take all that sawdust off the table. These are done and ready. Now to do the long ones, you remember the marks that we put on before? There it is. I need those marks to face towards me, so I need to flip it around and have it going this way. So on the end, put it in like that, and remember, I've got an X, that's up, so I don't forget. Line up the corners right here. Line those up. The closer you get them lined up, the better they will line up when you glue them. Then you slide it down, and remember those 2 marks you put on? Line those up with your center board. That's why we do it that way. Okay, so that's centered, and then repeat at the last one on the end. And then continue with all the rest of your pieces.
As you're gluing up your frames, be very careful not to fill the holes completely. That glue could split the joint. Make sure to put glue along the ends as well when you put the pieces together. Enough glue will help it stay together much stronger, much longer, and it'll give you a better end product. Don't worry if the joints don't come together perfectly. The clamps will push them together without any problem. Please remove your frames when you're finished with them so that other people can glue on the table as well. Just repeat the process for the remaining frames. And get them clamped up nice and tight. When the gap is gone, they're tight enough. Take the frames out of the clamps and scrape each joint, both sides. By doing that, you won't have to sand as much, and likely not at all. They'll probably fit into the dados you're going to make for them as is. Now we cut your frames to size. First, take them to the crosscut sled and trim off only one end. You're cutting through the 2 long boards and the 1 short one, just enough to get them flat. When you're finished cutting, make sure to draw lines on what was cut, the end, and the edge. Make your lines on the end and the edge. Now it's time to cut your frames to width. Set the table saw and make sure to put the line you drew right there against the fence. That ensures that your board is going to be square when you're done cutting. Do the same procedure to all of the frames that you have in your project. Once you have the width cut, now cut length following the same procedure. The other line that you had needs to go against the fence. Now you have perfectly square frames.